Okay, this is a reshoot of that first video. So you have this homework. It's worth 2 grades. It's due March 30th. That's a Friday. You're only submitting links to Blackboard. The last video in this video series will show you how to do that. One thing that'll make your life easier, because this document has all of the homeworks in it, is to just copy the entire thing and dump it into your homework. So now I've copied the entire document and I can work through all the questions, hopefully not forgetting anything. Now I don't need any of this. I don't want to pass all this stuff in. So let me just put my hypothetical name as a student and just indicate what this is about. So the first thing we need to do in this homework is to grab some data. So I provided a link and we're going to go ahead and grab that. Now in this video I'm not going to read all the instructions. I'm expecting that you'll be reading the document and then following along the steps. So this is the data that we want. And over here I've already created a spreadsheet. And this is a case where we can actually just copy and paste the data directly from the web page. We can't always do that. What we want is we want in particular the breakdown for public and private, nonprofit, and for-profit institutions. Up here, this is an average over all institutions. We're not going to use that. We're going to look down here at public, and we're going to just copy all these columns. So however you copy, and then we can go over here to our spreadsheet and paste. Now there's a couple things we still need to do. We need to have the headers, the titles, so insert one above. Actually, we'll do that in a second. Before we do that, notice that these years are kind of annoying. This is going to be tricky to graph, so we're going to get rid of some of this stuff. Click on B, right click or control click, insert left. All I want is really the first year. That'll be good enough for what we're doing. So here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to teach you a new function. So type equals, left, parenthesis, click on this cell, which is A1, comma, and type 4, end parenthesis. When you hit enter, it pulls the first 4 characters starting from the left out of this cell. If you select B1 and then double click on this corner, it fills the whole column up. So that's a little cleaner. Now if we select column B and we copy, go to column A, actually it's A1, right click, be careful now, we want to paste values only. If you don't do that, that is if you just paste numbers in there, everything gets screwed up because these are formulas, they're not numbers. So you want to paste special values only. And now we don't need column B anymore, so we'll delete that. So now we have our years cleaned up. Next, we'll right click or control click on 1, insert a row above, create some labels. So this is year. Now I've already forgotten what these numbers do or mean. So let's go back to our data source and let's scroll up. Now all we want is we want 4-year institutions. We want public and private 4-year institutions. And we want it in constant 2014, 2015 dollars. Now I do ask you a question in this homework about these things. Current dollars mean the amount of dollars that were paid in that year. So the average cost of a 4-year institution in 1984 to 85 was $5,160 at that point in time. If we used 2014 dollars, it would cost $10,210. The value of money changes with time. So if we're not careful what unit we're using, we'll get very different results. Notice how in this column, the cost of a 4-year institution has quintupled. It's a factor of 5. Whereas over here, it's a bit more than a factor of 2. So the statement you can make about how much the cost has changed depends upon the unit of currency you're using. So we want this second row. Go back to my spreadsheet. We want this one. We'll just call this 4-year public. And we don't care about any of these other columns. They're not going to be used, at least in this homework. So now we have some data. We also want private, a 4-year private. So we go back to the web page here, scroll down. Here's private, non-profit, and for-profit. And we're not going to be able to select just a column here. We have to copy everything. But we want this one here. So Control-C or whatever buttons or shortcuts you want to use. I go over here and I paste. Whoops. For whatever reason, there's a little gap that I can put in here. Here's what we can do. If you just hover, you get a little hand, you can move it up. And then I have to grab this row. And again, if I hover, a hand appears. I can grab it and pull down. I don't care about C. Actually, I don't care about C or D. I want this column. And you can check. You can go back to the data, and it's the 18,000 figure that we're looking for here. So these other columns we don't need. And this is our 4-year private. So now we've gathered the data for the average cost of a 4-year public institution, the average cost of a 4-year private institution in currency in the 2014-2015 year currency value for about a 20-year period. And so now, what does our homework say to do? It says label it college costs. So I'll just grab that text, copy it, go to the spreadsheet, click on the little arrow, rename, paste. Now we have a tab, college costs. Now as you're going through and doing this stuff, again, you can delete unnecessary text. Again, this question here, this question you can answer directly from the data set here. You're just comparing how much the cost has changed using 2 different measures of currency, which is going to result in 2 different statements. So put your answer in there and just continue to move along here. The next video will concern itself with getting all the other data that we're going to need to do our comparison, because all we've got so far is what the cost of college is and how it's changed. But everything's more expensive now. So how do we know if this is much more expensive or much less expensive? If the value of the dollar itself changes with time, how do we know? How can we compare this? We need something to compare this to talk about whether college is actually more expensive today than it used to be. And we'll do that in the next video.